Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in for another video. So in this video I'm going to be covering a little bit of an emergency situation that I had with the 270 gallon aquarium that houses the dragon moray and the two golden banana eels. So basically I had an unexpected leak which led to me breaking down this entire tank and starting all over again. And I took the opportunity to make some upgrades, make some changes, and in this video I want to show you exactly what I've done. Alright, so I'm standing in front of the 270 gallon aquarium, and as you can see it is almost empty. So let me tell you what happened. So this sump obviously was underneath the tank, up and running, and 2 days ago around 1 o'clock in the morning, right before I went to bed, or planned to go to bed, I just did a last checkup on the animals, and I noticed that the carpet area around the sump was kind of moist. And after looking at all the piping from the top of the tank, I couldn't really figure it out. So the only way to really make sure nothing serious was going on was to empty everything from the tank or the sump as much as possible, move it out of the way, and then look up from underneath into the piping, and then notice that the drain, which is a hole around this height in this overflow box, had a drip, slow drip going on. So I did the work to seal this as much as possible, but then I noticed that unfortunately one of the two drains at the bottom, so there's one there and there's one here, also had a drip leak. So I tried to tighten the nut a little more, but unfortunately that pinched the gasket and made it worse. So the only way to stop this was to drain the water below, the drain holes. And obviously had to take everything out. I just made a video like 2 or 3 videos ago about this being the dragon and banana moray aquarium, and I went over the redesign. And so shortly after that, I had to take everything out again. So it's very stressful for the animals, of course. The dragon moray, he's in a 32 gallon holding tank, and everyone else I just kept in there with some air stones. And so I'm going to be doing the work of fixing the leak, and may make some modifications to this sump to make it a little bit more accessible. One thing I don't like is because of these braces I cannot put a protein skimmer in there. And I also have this fleece roller from tiling, so a tiling roller mat. So I'm thinking about installing that as well. So I'm going to get going on that, and hopefully everything will go well. So here we are yet again with a redesigned 270 gallon aquarium that houses the dragon moray and 2 banana morays in addition to some other fish. And so like I said earlier, this is not something I planned. It was out of necessity because of a leak. And when I redesigned the tank, I usually try to do something new. I never really set up the same design twice. And in this case, I went with a more traditional look, the traditional rocks against the wall look. But these rocks are different than what you will probably use. So most of these rocks, if not actually the majority of them, are actually the rocks that used to be my 1,000 gallon moray tank. And so there are basically 2 types of base rock that you can buy, and most people buy this Carib Sea, South Seas rock, and it's like 40 pounds I think. And the problem with this rock is that the pieces are a little bit small. So here's one piece that I used just to fill this upper part. And so if you were to build, a wall of rocks with this smaller rock, you would have a lot of dead spots. And in my big moray tank, the 1,000 gallon tank, these rocks would have been toppled over all the time. So instead, I used these huge rocks, and these rocks are called Nature's Ocean Natural Coral Aquarium Base Rock, and these also come in 40-pound boxes. But when you get a 40-pound box, you only get like 2 or 3 rocks. So they're huge rocks. They're much larger, and obviously because they're much larger, they create much bigger openings, which is a lot better when it comes to getting flow in the back and not having so much dirt accumulate. So that's something different than the traditional, rocks against the wall setup where people usually use smaller rocks and not these huge rocks. And eels are very happy. So the dragon moray, he's like 2 feet now, so he's going to grow another foot and it's going to get thicker. So these bigger openings are perfect for him, and also for these gobies that I have here. So they're, I think, going to grow to like a foot each. So it's going to be a lot easier for fish to move through. And let's talk a little bit about the technology. So this is something down here that I always wanted to do. And that is having two 40-gallon breeders connected to each other, and each tank housing different types of filtration. So basically compartmentalizing a few things. So let's start here. So basically the way this works is I have this overflow box in the back, and you have a single pipe going down, and then I basically have a T connector like this somewhere at the bottom, and then the left side has this hose coming out, and then the right side has this hose coming out, and basically creating a split. And then here I have first my mechanical filtration, so I have filter socks, and then I have basically I have two refugiums, but I have some biomedia here to growing denitrifying bacteria, and I also have a lot of keto in here, and basically some basic shop lights. And then here we have some Caulerpa prolifera, and then in the back I'm trying to grow some sponges, and then here more bioblocks, and then the return pump. And then on the right side we have this water flow into this fleece roller for mechanical filtration. Then we have a reactor, I'm using it for carbon right now, then a protein skimmer, and then another pump on the right to pump the water back in the right side. So I have right side and left side. So I always like to run two pumps, two smaller pumps instead of one huge pump, to have redundancy when one pump fails. But obviously in a case like this, let's say this pump on the right failed in this tank, and this one kept running, the water would get would continue to drain into both, right? So this the pump in this sump would pump the water back into the tank, right? But it would continue to drain into both. So this would eventually overflow, and that's why I had to drill these tanks and connect them. And I'm basically using these are called discharge hoses, so I don't have to have this sump perfectly aligned and have any pressure on this pipe or whatever. So if I have to do any work there and I accidentally bump it, I'm not going to crack the glass. So I like that it's flexible, no leaks, and works really well. And so that is pretty much it for this setup. Obviously I was looking to have a nice long sump alongside the tank, and not having something vertical like this, more horizontal. It looks cleaner, I think, but they don't stick out that much. I like that I have all this open space. I can easily access everything, so it's a lot easier. And only problem is these are glass tanks, so they don't hold water forever. Eventually they will leak, not like acrylic. But hopefully that's years from now, and hopefully I will catch it soon. I will be placing water leak sensors everywhere, which I didn't have when this leak happened, so that's why I didn't catch it right away. But so what's next? I believe, so this tank looks really nice. I actually started to repurpose some of these AI Vega lights, which are usually set up on the 1,000-gallon tank. So I have like 8 of them on there, and I started to actually replace some of these lights with more cheaper, LED lights from companies like Higger or Nicrew. And I'm trying to repurpose these because, for a fish-only tank with live rock, like the 1,000-gallon moray tank is, I don't really need something like an AI Vega or Hydra that is meant for corals, so it's kind of overkill. So I decided to put them on this tank here because I'm thinking about actually growing some corals, but I'm going to be sticking to some really easy ones, because obviously the moray eels, they're going to move around, and corals are very sensitive to being touched, and irritated that way. So I cannot have really sensitive corals, and I don't really want to get into this very expensive hobby of coral growing, and I would need a lot more equipment on here. It's going to look really messy, because this is not something that I can close off, maybe with some drapes, but it's usually in plain view, you know. So I don't want all this equipment to be showing that's related to growing corals. So I'm thinking about, you know, easy stuff. Like here I have a nice plate of green star polyps. And yeah, so I'm thinking about, you know, placing corals everywhere to get some additional coloration. And when it comes to fish, I was thinking about adding something more colorful in here. But the problem is this tank is 6 feet long, 3 feet tall, but it's only 2 feet front to back, which really is not that great. And in the center here, you have this overflow box protruding forward, you know, taking away even more space. And now with all these rocks, these huge rocks, filling up the back wall, there's not actually a lot of open swimming space, or not as much as you would think. So things like big angelfish, for example, would be out of the question. And also they're going to probably be picking on any corals that I would put in here. So I'm thinking about maybe some reef-safe dwarf angelfish, if there are any, or butterfly fish, but only a few, because I had, you know, the 1,000-gallon tank stocked with a bunch of them, and they ended up, you know, being too aggressive towards the morays. And I have morays in here as well, right? So I don't want that to happen again. So I'm looking for something colorful, but also peaceful. And if I cannot find anything, then I will just try to keep looking for very, you know, easy to maintain corals that are colorful. So maybe some Ricodea mushrooms. I heard they're really simple and come in all kinds of colors. And yeah, so one last thing I forgot, you know, when it comes to filtration, I have these gyro pumps here. I have the 350 versions, so these are not the cloud controls one, like the newest ones, but the generation before. So one on each side. And for this GSP, it needs a lot of flow, I heard, so it likes flow because the nutrients that get delivered to the corals a lot easier, and the corals are getting or are being kept clean by having a lot of flow go through them. So I'm having these running constantly. And the fish had to get used to it, of course, because it's a weird flow pattern coming this from both sides, and in addition to the normal return pump. So yeah, but I think fish are getting used to it. I have to dial it in a little bit so that I don't see this open space here. But yeah, so hopefully this is it for this tank. So I am going to, like I said, look for corals. I actually have some corals be delivered today. I purchased some during the Labor Day sale, so they get some nice discounts. And now that I have these lights set up and working, yeah, I'm really excited for that. If I purchase any exciting fish in addition to the corals, I will make another video for that. But everything else works great. I think there's nothing else to add when it comes to the filtration, the technology, or the setup inside. So I think this tank is now pretty much set. And if I have no more leaks, then I will never have to go in again. And yeah, I'm just going to stick to this simple design of just rocks against the wall. So I don't need to build a bunch of pipes, because the dragon moray doesn't use pipes, and the banana eels never used the pipes before. So they're fine with rocks. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. And like I said, adding more coloration. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm not sure if the next one will already be about the new corals, because once I place them on the rocks all over, I will probably have to wait like a month or so for them to get fully established and start growing before it's worth filming them. So because I'm not going to stock this tank full with corals individually, because that would cost a fortune. So I will place them sporadically somewhere and then wait for them to grow in. And once everything looks nice, then I will pick this camera up and show you. But until then, thank you again for watching. Here's a closer look at the Japanese dragon moray. Very happy in this tank, very hungry, very nice looking teeth. So banana morays are there, so they're very happy too. And yeah, thank you again for watching, and I hope I see you guys in the next video.